Well, hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be doing a deep dive all about dehydrated skin and how it differs, if at all, from dry skin. Many people like to separate these two entities. Within the skin, there are two major compartments, the epidermis, which is the top compartment, and the dermis, the bottom compartment. Of course, there is water content down in the deeper layers of the skin, and I'll get into how that can dwindle as well. One of the most straightforward strategies to addressing dryness and skin hydration is incorporating moisturizing ingredients and moisturizing products into your skincare routine to reduce water loss out of the skin and improve barrier function. I'd like to thank today's video sponsor, Necessaire. I've been using their skincare products for several years now. I especially adore the hand cream. The skin on our hands is some of the most exposed territory. We're always touching things, washing our hands. This strips away the moisture barrier, leading to more water loss out of the skin, contributing to dryness, dehydration, and faster onset of skin aging on the hands. Now, their hand cream I particularly love because I don't like a greasy hand cream that makes things slippery. This one's really fast absorbing, it's not greasy, and it has this peptide in it that's almost like an invisible glove acting as a skin protectant. It also has niacinamide in it, which is really good for helping keep your moisture barrier healthy, and it has marula oil in it that is packed with antioxidants to help fight off oxidative stress and help with barrier recovery and healing. It's fragrance-free and it comes in a recyclable aluminum tube. Another long-standing favorite product of mine from Necessaire is the body serum. This is a fragrance-free gel that is fantastic for addressing the needs of dryness and dehydration simultaneously because of the fantastic ingredient profile. And the packaging is an airless pump, and both the bottle and the cap are made from 100% plant-based materials. Again, free of fragrance. It is vegan and cruelty-free. It has 5 different forms of hyaluronic acid in it, which help with improving moisture retention in the skin at different levels based on the differences in sizes. And it's got ceramides in it, which help with barrier recovery. It has niacinamide, just like the hand cream, another great ingredient for helping the moisture barrier. You can use it to the body all over or just to particularly stubborn areas of dryness and dehydration. It addresses the needs of dryness, skin barrier recovery, and moisture depletion. Yeah, check the description box. I will have these as well as a promo code. So thank you, Necessaire, for sponsoring today's video. When we're talking about the water content or the hydration, water is present all the way through the epidermis, the top layer of the skin, and it's critical for the health and the function of the stratum corneum. You can't get appropriate skin cell maturation and turnover in the absence of good water levels. And there are a variety of things that contribute to water loss out of the skin. Alterations in barrier function lead to both dryness and dehydration. It basically causes increase in transepidermal water loss. And those alterations in barrier function can come about as a result of using irritating products, over cleansing the skin, or just age-related decline in the production of things like ceramides and healthy lipids that are necessary for keeping that protective layer in check. And once that the health of that starts to become compromised, well then not only do you have more evaporation of water out of the epidermis, out of the top layer of the skin, but you also have the symptoms of dryness. You're more vulnerable to sensations of sensitive skin like stinging, burning, irritation, redness. Another important part of reducing both dryness and dehydration are variations in pH. Healthy skin has a pH anywhere ranging from 4.1 to 5.8 depending on the body site location. But with age and with using too many skincare products, you can start to increase the pH of the skin, and that leads to poor skin cell turnover where you get dry, heaped up skin cells and more water loss out of the skin. Increases in pH compromise normal shedding and turnover of skin cells, and that compromises the health of the moisture barrier. There are a lot of different enzymes that are key for skin cell maturation, and those require that healthy pH range. Once you start compromising that by using too many skincare products that increase the skin pH or over cleansing, well then you start to have more disruption in the health of the moisture barrier, and that leads to both dryness and increased water loss out of the epidermis. When I was trying to figure out what it is that people think is the difference between dry skin and dehydrated skin, I went on the internet and kind of Googled dryness versus dehydration just to get a sense of what kind of information people were putting out there. And one thing that was put out there a lot is that dry skin has less oil production. But truthfully, decrease in oil production, or sebum, can impact both hydration, both the water content, as well as dryness, because it helps in maintaining the health of the moisture barrier. Anything that compromises that leads to more water out of the skin. Some people don't make as much sebum. It's natural to make less sebum or oil with age, but that doesn't just cause dryness. It also will contribute to dehydration, because those oils do play a role in maintenance and health of the moisture barrier and locking in some hydration. So you're going to have more water loss out of the skin and accompanied dryness when you have age-related loss of sebum in the skin. Now, different body sites have fewer oil glands: the neck, the lower extremities, the arms, and people tend to use a lot of body washes, maybe scrubs and things on those areas, stripping away further an area that doesn't have as much natural oils to lock in hydration and reduce dryness and keep the skin cells smooth, acting as an emollient. Things that you're exposed to in your environment compromise the health of the moisture barrier, leading to both dryness and increased water loss out of the skin. Pollutants cause a lot of oxidative stress, inflammation. They compromise the health of the proteins in the top layer of the skin, as well as the lipids, and that ultimately can lead to dryness and more water loss out of the skin. Ultraviolet radiation, specifically UVB, damages proteins, DNA in the skin cells, and that has been demonstrated to be accompanied by not only increased dryness, but also more water loss out of the skin. Now, when we go a little bit deeper into the dermis, well, there we're actually talking about water content as it relates to extracellular matrix, basically this amorphous stuff. Then of course you've got collagen and elastin and a ton of water that is being held on by all of those extra matrix components. And with age, you start to lose some of that. So the deeper layers of your skin lose water binding capacity, and the water content does go down. So I like to think of that as dermal dehydration. I think of it as a separate issue than epidermal dehydration and dryness. The epidermal dehydration and dryness go hand in hand, and they're a reflection of an impaired moisture barrier, more water loss out of the skin, either due to harsh skincare practices, scrubbing, buffing, over-cleansing, an underlying skin condition like eczema, psoriasis, acne, rosacea, age-related change in the health of the moisture barrier, environmental exposures, ultraviolet radiation, pollution, stress, living in a dry climate. All these things can influence both the moisture barrier and then of course ultimately the hydration status of the epidermis. But when we go a little bit deeper down into the dermis, then you have dermal dehydration that occurs, again, mostly related to age-related loss of the extrafibrillar matrix components. Collagen, hyaluronic acid starts to decline. Hyaluronic acid down there is a major, it loves to bind onto water. So a lot of the water down there, that can decline with age, and that contributes to loss of firmness. What about just drinking more water in that case? It's a popular answer to all of life's woes. It can make a slight difference, especially if at baseline you are total body water down. You're dehydrated, your total body water is low. An easy way to see if that's what's going on is if you pinch the skin and it remains tented for a few seconds, like a little tent, well, you're dehydrated. That is a physical exam finding of dehydration, total body dehydration, not just in the skin. But for otherwise healthy people with functioning kidneys who are, eating and drinking fluids as you should be, well, then you're not going to have that. So simply drinking more water, you're just going to urinate the water out. And so that's not something to necessarily focus on. What about drinking coffee and caffeine? Doesn't that dehydrate you and dry out your skin? Absolutely not. Yes, caffeine does have a mild diuretic effect, but remember, in a cup of coffee, you are getting a lot of water. The slight diuretic effect that comes from drinking coffee does not impact your total body water. If anything, drinking coffee and tea, these beverages are packed with antioxidants, polyphenols that help to reduce oxidative stress in the skin that ultimately would damage proteins and lipids in your skin barrier, leading to both dryness and dehydration of the epidermis. and would also contribute to destruction of collagen and a lot of the extrafibrillar matrix amorphous material in the deeper layers of the skin, compromising water binding ability and ultimately leading to more obvious signs of aging. So yeah, drinking those beverages actually can help keep your skin hydrated and healthy. You're getting a lot of water in. The diuretic effect of caffeine is negligible, packed with antioxidants. Skincare products actually can help quite a bit in addressing both dryness and dehydration of the epidermis. They can't do so much for the dermis, although I'll talk about a few ingredients in a moment. For the dehydration piece of dry skin, ingredients that help are humectants, because these work by pulling water into the top layers of the epidermis, improving moisture content. And that's really important because moisture there is critical for epidermal maturation and shedding of skin cells. Hyaluronic acid, polyhydroxy acids like gluconolactone that I mentioned earlier, urea, glycerin, algae, honey. These are humectants in skincare products. They will help with hydration of the top dead layer of the skin in particular, and that's ultimately going to help with better skin barrier recovery and shedding of dry built up skin cells and overall healthier, more hydrated, non-dry skin. When we're speaking of the dryness specifically, that's going to be flakiness, dull appearing skin texture, and ingredients that can help with that are alpha hydroxy acids, glycolic acid, lactic acid, mandelic acid. The way these help is because they help soften and turn over those dry heaped up skin cells. Those dry heaped up skin cells, they get in the way of skin cell turnover, and that just kind of backs everything up and keeps the skin dry. So using those ingredients can help, and it also helps stimulate replenishment of the skin's natural moisturizing factors, things like ceramides, for example. Oils in your moisturizers also will help soften those dry built up skin cells, and oils slip in between those skin cells and kind of help them to shed. And a lot of people like to incorporate an oil into their skincare routine to address these issues, but you have to pay attention. Most moisturizers have an oil or an emollient that's going to do these things for you. An oil by itself doesn't always do the best job of reducing water loss. So when you're trying to target these needs, just putting an oil on your skin, it may help your skin look healthier, but it's really not doing all of the work that you need. It's doing some good things. Not only do oils soften and smooth down skin cell edges, but they also, many plant oils have a lot of antioxidants that can help reduce oxidative stress that's damaging to the health of the moisture barrier. So they definitely have a role in skincare, but they're already in most moisturizing products, so you don't necessarily need a separate oil. Then when we're talking specifically about things that are going to address the moisture barrier, urea is a wonderful ingredient for the health of the moisture barrier because it does a lot of things. First of all, it acts as a humectant, but it helps to stimulate your body to make more natural moisturizing factors, and it helps soften and bump off those dry, built up, scaly skin cells. Then we also hear a lot about ceramides. These are lipids that are naturally present in your skin and are critical to the function of the moisture barrier. With age, the production of those starts to decline. Certain skin conditions have fewer ceramides, like eczema, for example. And so using a product that has ceramides on the skin can help kind of step in for that and clue your body into making more ceramides, ultimately improving the health of the moisture barrier. Nothing puts the brakes on water loss out of the skin, improving both dryness and dehydration, like a good occlusive ingredient, which is going to be found in moisturizing creams, lotions, or ointments. Petrolatum, y'all know, is a favorite of mine. You also have shea butter. And then changes in pH can be addressed by acidification using a moisturizer. Most moisturizers have an acidic pH. Another family of ingredients that is frequently present in moisturizing products is going to be antioxidants. These help ward off oxidative stress from environmental things that we're exposed to, like ultraviolet radiation and pollution, tobacco smoke, that damages the lipids in the top layer of our skin. That ultimately is what leads to dryness and evaporative water loss out of the skin. So topically applied antioxidants like niacinamide, or the antioxidants present in plant oils, topically applied vitamin C, green tea, EGCG, these can help. Caffeine. I have a video all about topical antioxidants for skin aging, and those topical antioxidants, they will help in addressing the needs of the moisture barrier, keeping that water in, reducing dryness and dehydration. So that's epidermal dryness and dehydration, but what about dermal dehydration due to loss of some of the components of the extrafibrillar matrix? Topical retinoids or retinols. Retinoids, you guys know, you usually get by prescription. Retinols are more commonly found in anti-aging creams. Both of these types of ingredients, they're under the umbrella of topical vitamin A, can help in boosting up collagen production in the deeper layers of the skin, improving skin hydration. That is why these have a skin firming effect, because they allow for better overall hydration in the deeper layers of the skin. Vitamin C is another ingredient that can boost up collagen production in the deeper layers of the skin, specifically L-ascorbic acid. Now, unfortunately, L-ascorbic acid is not the most stable ingredient. It's very difficult for manufacturers to formulate serums and products with L-ascorbic acid in such a way that it not only remains stable, but that it actually gets into the skin. It's a tricky ingredient, not only from a stability point of view, but from a skin penetration point of view. And long-term use of an alpha hydroxy acid like lactic acid, 12% cream, can also help in improving not only the top hydration status, the epidermis and the barrier function, but long-term actually can impact the deeper layers of the skin and the hydration down there. And of course, getting hyaluronic acid injected into the deeper layers of your skin, getting filler, will improve the moisture status of the dermis. And there are also some dietary supplements that may help in improving the moisture content of the deeper layers of the skin. I've talked about in other videos how there are some studies to suggest that dietary collagen supplements like collagen peptides may help in improving the hydration of the deeper layers of the skin. Also some studies to suggest that oral hyaluronic acid supplements can also help with that. Again, the research on that is, kind of limited, small studies, a lot of times, industry funded, mixed results, hard to extrapolate. They always end up using different doses, different routes, maybe adding in another supplement here and there. So it's really hard to draw solid conclusions, but I will say that there are some papers that do suggest that dietary hyaluronic acid and collagen supplements can help in improving the hydration status of the deeper layers of the skin. I bet you clicked into this video thinking you're just gonna get some straightforward, do this for dry skin, do this for dehydrated skin, but if y'all know me, I don't operate like that. But hopefully you learned in today's video how the health of the moisture barrier is really impacted by a variety of things: age-related, environmental-related, product-related, and all of these things lead to both dryness and dehydration of the epidermis. Now, when we're talking about hydration of the dermis, a lot of that has to do with age-related decline in some of the natural factors down there that bind onto water. And hopefully in today's video, you learned some tips, some strategies for addressing dryness and dehydration. Now, don't forget to check out Necessaire, and thank you Necessaire for sponsoring today's video. I will link the products in the description box, but if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.